Hey, what's up everybody? We are back again, and today, to probably absolutely nobody's surprise, we are once again going to be talking about the infamous underground trap metal collective known as City Morgue. And right off the bat, before we even get into it, I can already hear what you guys are gonna say. Come on, dude. At this point, what the fuck does Zillakami do? Is there actually anything new, or are you gonna be simply rehashing the same old allegations that we've heard about time and time again? I mean, how many videos have you made about this guy already? 10, 20, 50, a million?
1 million cigarettes.
Black.
I mean, we get it. He's a bad guy. You don't need to keep making video after video rehashing the same old points time and time again. I mean, for somebody who's always talking about leaving the past behind and moving on, it seems like you really can't move on from this one topic. I mean, is rent that high, my dude? Kinda hypocritical. Also, you're gay. And I hear you. I mean, yeah, I get it, you're not wrong. But today, believe it or not, we're not actually talking about Zillakami. We're talking about another member of City Morgue. And no, before you freak out, we're not talking about Sos Mula either. I know a lot of people would be completely devastated if anything came out against them, but I haven't seen anything in the past year, and honestly, at this point, if nothing has come out, I would say there probably is nothing.
I'm fucking tired of feeling like this. You ready? Yo, I hate yo. I swear to my pops, I swear to God, I see you, I'ma violate you. You can suck my dick.
I know a lot of people like to get on him for knowing about all of this and not doing anything about it, but there's a real possibility that he had absolutely no idea. I mean, Sos and Zilla go on tour together, but it's not like they were hanging out together on the day-to-day. They have a decade between them. They weren't really ever that close, and even if they were, are you gonna tell your homie that you're messing with underage girls? Probably not. So for now, Sos Mula is safe. But if I'm not talking about him, then who am I talking about? I mean, after all, there's only 2 members of City Morgue. Are you talking about Tekashi? I mean, I guess he was kind of a member of the group before it was really City Morgue. But let's be honest, you already know that's not the case, because if something did happen with Tekashi, there would be like 1,000 videos about it already, considering the fact that YouTubers absolutely love to make videos talking about his downfall. And considering just how slow I am at getting videos out, you definitely wouldn't be hearing about it for the first time from me. So if it's not Tekashi, if it's not Sos Mula, not Zillakami, who's left? Maybe Righteous P? I mean, he's an affiliate of City Morgue, but not really a member. And while Righteous P definitely has had his fair share of allegations in the past, I'm also not talking about him. And no, I'm not talking about Scumbag Chad either. No affiliates, nobody who was connected to the label and not actually part of the group. I'm talking about a full-on member of City Morgue. And for those of you who know, you already know that I'm talking about Thraxx. Now in today's day and age, in the big 2025, I'm not really sure how many people know who Thraxx is anymore. I mean, he was absolutely massive back in like 2017 to around 2019, with him primarily being known for working with City Morgue. If I'm not mistaken, he first got introduced to the group through Righteous P, with him initially making a couple instrumentals for Tekashi 6ix9ine back when he was still working with the Morgue, or Scum Squad as it was called at the time. However, after they ended up falling out, he would then go on to side with Zillakami and Sos Mula. In fact, he's actually the guy who produced the beat for Zeta Zero, and the reason that the video ended up getting taken down off of Worldstar, because he basically said that Tekashi didn't have the rights to it. He would then go on to give the very same beat to Sos Mula and Zillakami to create their track Yuck Mouth, and then after that, he ended up producing several different songs for them during the time that they were posting on SoundCloud. And this would help him form connections with different underground artists like Cameron Nazi, Zarkon, and even Killswitch early on. He was selling quite a few beats to many different aspiring trap metal artists, but unfortunately, once City Morgue got signed to a label deal, he was no longer able to do that. Now, nobody's really certain exactly what type of contract that he had with the Morgue. The only thing that we have is secondhand testimony, with Cameron Nazi saying in a live stream that he could no longer work with Thraxx because he was signed to an exclusive deal with City Morgue, which at the time had to seem like an absolutely massive opportunity. I mean, how many times have we heard of an artist working with a producer in the underground, blowing up off of their beats, and then completely leaving them behind after they end up going mainstream? I mean, producers very rarely ever get any love when it comes to artists. They're never mentioned, they're never shouted out, despite the fact that they do about half of the work, if not even more. But for Thraxx, he got the golden ticket. Not only was he respected as a full-on member of City Morgue, but he was also the the main producer on their first official studio album called City Morgue Volume 1, Hell or High Water. I mean, look, he even ended up getting his name on the cover. Pretty cool. And considering the fact that City Morgue was signed to Republic Records at the time, he was definitely making a very healthy bag. Although unfortunately, it wouldn't last for very long. Because almost immediately after that project came out, they would start to actively disassociate with them. He never went to any of the interviews alongside them. He never was with them on tour, which honestly isn't that crazy. I mean, just because he's their primary producer doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be their touring DJ. But considering the fact that he was pretty well signed to an exclusive deal with them, he probably could have at least been there. And on top of that, Zillakami was pretty well going out of his way to actively disrespect him every single opportunity that he got, with him pretty infamously doing an interview for 33rd Black Glass and then going on to say that all of Thraxx's beats were trash.
We was in Muddy Studio, Thraxx played a beat and I hated it. And
we had a bunch of beats that day.
Yeah, all of them were trash.
Which at the time came across like it was a joke. However, in retrospect, I think it's pretty obvious that Zillakami really didn't fuck with Thraxx. I think the only reason that they ended up using him in the first place is because he was connected to Righteous P. But as time went on, you would really start to see him less and less. And no, I'm not talking about interviews or any sort of media appearances. I'm talking about him no longer being part of the music making process. Because with Volume 1, he was the main producer. However, by the time that Volume 2 came out, he only had 4 production credits on it, before then only getting 3 on Toxic Boogaloo, a couple on Dogboy, absolutely none on Sos Mula's first official solo project called 13 Songs to Die To. He would get a couple on Volume 3, and then by the time My Bloody America came out, he had absolutely no production credits whatsoever. Which is kind of weird when you think about it. How does somebody go from being the main producer for a rap group to not having any production credits whatsoever only a couple years later? Many people would speculate that the main reason why they stopped using his beats so heavily after Volume 1 is because they really started to shift their sound around that time to something a little bit more low-key and not as aggressive. I mean, Zilla would even say himself that the main reason that he doesn't like rapping on Thraxx beats is because they're too aggressive and too loud, and he kind of feels like he gets overshadowed on his own tracks. And I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I actually do agree with Zillakami here. I mean, many different trap metal artists end up making the same mistake where they'll get this very bombastic, loud, scraping beat that completely overpowers them, making their music sound like shit. If you don't have the capacity to scream at the top of your lungs and actually make it sound good, then don't buy a beat that's going to completely blow your headphones out because, well, you're going to get overpowered. However, this line of reasoning really starts to break down after you take a look at who exactly replaced Thraxx, with the main producer for City Morgue after Volume 2 being a guy going by the name of Young Germ, not to be confused with Germ who hangs out with Puya and Fat Nick. That's a completely different guy. I wouldn't blame you for being fooled by that because Zillakami actually tried to pull a bit of a trick with his recent single Knife by saying it was produced by Germ, which it was, Young Germ. Not anybody who has anything to do with G59, a random skinny white guy who's been working with them for like 5 years. And if you've ever listened to his beats before, they basically sound exactly like Thraxx. But if that's not enough to convince you, well then let me introduce you to Exhibit B, a producer who goes by the name of Circles. Now if you've never heard of him before, you probably actually have, because he has a pretty popular YouTube channel where he makes type beats, with the biggest video on that channel being a City Morgue type beat. In fact, it's actually the biggest City Morgue type beat on the entire platform, with over 500,000 views. And if you take a quick look at the comments, you'll see many different people talking about just how accurate it is to a real Thraxx beat. And well, it was so accurate that City Morgue actually ended up seeking him out, and now he's an official producer that still works with Zillakami nowadays. So this guy was so good at cloning Thraxx that he actually ended up replacing Thraxx. Fuck a clone rapper, let's talk about a clone producer, because basically after Thraxx started to gain popularity for working with the Morgue, absolutely every single producer who wanted to make trap metal type beats would basically completely steal from his playbook. And while at first he would try to call out anybody who he considered a copycat of him, eventually it became so prominent in the genre that it became impossible to even know who was stealing from him and who was simply influenced by people who were influenced by him. Which in a way is kind of cool because it means that your art is actually getting bigger than you, but at the same time, with him being stuck with that exclusive deal, he wasn't able to capitalize on any of the hype. I mean, imagine creating a style of beat that becomes so popular that absolutely everybody in the subgenre wants to rip it off. Meanwhile, you're not able to do anything about it and people aren't even crediting you as an inspiration. And while personally I absolutely hate Thraxx type beats and think they're one of the main reasons why trap metal as a genre is so dead, I do have to say that he definitely got fucked over in this situation. And for years and years, nobody really cared. He would continue to fall more and more into obscurity while Zillakami and City Morgue would become even more popular than ever before. And because of that, people would forget about Thraxx more and more. I mean, after all, people love Zillakami, they love Sos Mula, they love the Morgue as a whole, and them fucking over some random producer over 5 years ago at this point doesn't really mean that much to the average fan. However, in 2024, you already know what happened. Because eventually karma would come, as after all, the Zillakami allegations would drop, absolutely everybody started to hate him, and now that he had all this negative attention on him, people would start to dig into his past and look at all the shitty actions that he had taken over the course of his entire career. And by people, I mostly mean me. I think I was primarily the one who was broadcasting a lot of this, but there definitely was some pretty solid people on Reddit who were doing the same, so shout out to them, I guess. And after people began to realize just how fucked over he truly was by the group, many would speculate that he might come out and say something about his time working with them, or maybe talk about Zillakami and the beef that they had. I mean, after all, Zillakami was already in a controversy. What's a better time to kick a man when he's down than when he's already being dogpiled by other people? I mean, come on now, we're talking about the internet here. Not to mention, Thraxx really likes dogs, as we're gonna find out, but apparently he didn't really want to say anything. He would end up reaching out to me and asking if I wanted to do an interview with him, but after I told him that I wasn't from America and couldn't come to New York to do it in person, he would tell me that he was no longer interested. Not to mention he was pretty pissed off about the other video that I did on him back in 2023, so I kind of think the only reason he wanted me to come to New York is because he was planning to jump me, but maybe I'm wrong. However, despite him never speaking out against the Morgue, this would kind of begin a renaissance for Thraxx, with many people looking back at his old beats and getting nostalgic for them, with him selling a bunch of them in the following months. On top of that, him and Sos Mula would begin to work together again in 2025, with people speculating that he's even going to be a producer on his upcoming album, Crystal Lake. And just overall, it seems like retribution finally came. Somebody who was fucked over for so many years, talked down upon, stolen from, copied, and basically left in the shadow of the underground, slowly rotting into obscurity, finally got his second chance. But let me tell you something, Thraxx is not a victim. Because long before any of the allegations came out about Zillakami, Thraxx was already pretty well known within the fanbase for being a massive piece of shit. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me give you a couple different examples. First of all, he's a scammer, which is pretty well par for the course for anybody in the underground nowadays. I mean, okay, he ended up scamming a couple people on some beats, who really gives a fuck, not really a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But we're not only talking about some random instrumentals here, we're talking about him starting up his own clothing brand, getting a bunch of people to then buy said clothing, and never shipping out any of it, leading to massive backlash. And while in most cases, people don't really care about this type of thing and it often gets brushed under the rug. I mean, look at somebody like Psych Ward USA. Even to this day, after being called out in multiple videos, he still hasn't shipped the clothing that he owes people, and he's even working with Eminem now, so the industry doesn't give a fuck. But it seems like Thraxx really pissed off the wrong group of people, because a bunch of Morgue fans would all get together and create an entirely new subreddit called Thraxx, which wasn't about his production or anything like that. It was mostly used to clown on him and talk about how big of a scammer he was. At first, it was really just a bunch of people who wanted to get the clothes that they paid for, or at least their money back if they weren't going to ship. But before long, people would start to post funny interactions that they had with Thraxx, because basically any time that somebody would DM him and call him out, he would have a complete schizo meltdown, yelling at them, calling them a bunch of names, and even being pretty racist in one situation situation, with the native guy calling him out and saying that he wanted to get the clothes that he paid for, with Thraxx responding by saying go back to your powwow, which is truly demonic work, I gotta say. On top of that, people would also discover a burner Instagram account that he had where he would mostly post pictures of his dog, which really doesn't sound that weird in concept, but when you look at the captions and some of the pictures that he posted, you'll start to notice a very common theme. It's all about poop. Yeah, dog poop. All the captions are like, hey, I'm gonna poop on this lady, I poop there, I'm gonna poop here. Some people try to make the claim that he simply has middle school humor and he finds poop really funny, but considering the fact that he's not posting this on his main Instagram and he made an entirely different Instagram to post about it, I'm starting to think that it might be a bit of a fetish, but honestly, who am I to say? I'm not here to kink shame anybody, and overall, I mean, who gives a fuck? The guy's a little bit racist, he's a scammer, and he has a thing for dog poop. I mean, kinda weird, but considering what Zillakami did, he's definitely still the lesser of two evils. Or at least that would be the case if it wasn't for a recent post that went up on the subreddit only a couple days ago, with the caption, Thraxx admitting to dragging me down the stairs, and I'll simply play you the recording right here.
Bitch of my life. Yeah, I dragged you.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I dragged you. I never punched you.
Yeah, you dragged me downstairs.
Yeah.
You did.
You got dragged. You never got punched. Stupid. The fuck? I never punch a bitch.
Yep,
No,
but you'll drag a bitch
I
downstairs.
punched a bitch, I was literally you. Like, what are you talking about? That doesn't happen.
And as you can see, he's pretty well admitting to abusing his girlfriend. He said he never hit her, but dragging somebody down the stairs is definitely still pretty aggressive. But if him verbally admitting to being abusive isn't enough to convince you that he really did what she's alleging, well, she brought a lot of receipts, so why don't we look into those? Because it turns out that Thraxx actually ended up showing up at her apartment, taking a picture of the door, and then completely tweaking out in text by starting off by saying, where the are you? I'm about to go in your crib and break your shit. I don't know why you did this. Whoever comes out of your apartment is getting fucked up. You're a dumb bitch. I'm not leaving until someone is hurt. You're a pussy and whoever is in there is gonna get shanked in their neck. I'm dead gonna be here till somebody leaves or you come back. These aren't threats. It's going to happen. I'm hoping you're calling my bluff too, you dumb bitch. I can't just walk away from this without getting that satisfaction. Lame ass bitch. I hope you stop being a typical white emo bitch, bluffing and actually even though you already have nothing to live for. I want to make sure that shit gets worse for you. You think this is weird? Just wait, Sally. I need to see you traumatized at this point. You're lucky you have a camera and I didn't kick your door in and you both up. You both hid like. And if you're wondering what the word I censored was, it wasn't the N-word, it was the F-slur. I don't know if you really give a fuck about that, but yeah, can't say that on YouTube, sorry. I'm gonna be in bed stew for a while now, so I'm gonna be pulling up on you. I can't let it go. You need to learn a lesson. I helped you get free food, cash, and your rent paid. And this is what I get. I'm gonna go to your parents who disowned you like the white trash that you are. Because their daughter's been a dumb, worthless your whole life. This isn't a one-time thing. I'm not kidding. I'm not gonna punch you like that one guy. This shit is gonna be a lot worse. So basically, he's implying that he's gonna. If you're wondering what the circumstances are, I believe she might have cheated on him. It's either that or he thinks that she cheated on him. I'm not really sure if she actually did or not. She hasn't really been specific about it. But either way, whether she did or not, it's not really a reason to crash out this type of way. But right now, it's only messages. Definitely pretty mentally abusive and definitely could be reported to the police for being a threat, but he hasn't actually done anything physical yet. But he continues on by saying, enjoy your day taking care of that smelly and breathing into shitty ass. His autism got you acting more than usual. Continue being the servant and teach the to wipe his ass, you loser. Bro is really pulling out every single slur in the book, talking about how she's apparently a servant to people, which kind of reminds me of Undead Poppy. In fact, the entire thing reminds me of him. I mean, I understand being upset, but this entire thing kind of reeks of bipolarism. People who get this worked up and start saying things that don't even make sense are usually pretty mentally ill. It's possible that he's on drugs, but once again, isn't a reason to be abusive. And then he keeps going and going, saying that her family is that she's pansexual, that she is having with a dog. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Maybe his fantasies are starting to bleed into real life. And he actually ended up making good on that promise of getting into her apartment because we now have a video of him outside of the door with her recording through the peephole. I'll show it to you right here.
Let me get my shit. I'll keep stomping the shit out. Open up.
Now that's already harassment and pretty fucked up, making her feel scared in her own apartment, but then after that, he actually ends up kicking in the door. And once he got inside, he once again made good on his promise because, well, we have a bunch of pictures here that I'm definitely gonna have to censor, but it seems like he ended up absolute shit out of her. She has bruises on her knees, she has bruises all over her neck and arms. She also ended up posting a picture of him, which I believe might be him getting a mugshot taken, so hopefully she called the police on him and they're taking care of it, but honestly, nowadays, who knows? And unfortunately, even with her having all of this evidence, the response to it in the subreddit has been kind of shitty. Some people are giving her support, saying that they're sorry that she went through that, and that it would probably be a good idea to post all of that on the Zilla Kami subreddit or the City Morgue one, so Smula, whichever one, because at this point the Thraxx Reddit is pretty dead. In fact, I don't know if anybody's even aware of this besides like 30 people. However, of course, you got a couple people saying, hey, you cheated on him so you deserve it, and honestly, if you think because a girl cheats on you that she deserves to get the shit beaten out of her, well, that says a lot more about you than it does about her. And overall, this is a very unfortunate situation. It's too bad that Thraxx ended up being an even bigger piece of shit than we initially thought. And with this much evidence against him, I have absolutely no idea how he's going to try to weasel his way out of this one. But overall, I just wanted people to know because the whole Thraxx redemption arc is definitely not deserved. Hopefully, So Smula will kick him off of the new project and he'll once again go into obscurity. If I hear any more information about that, or if anybody ends up reaching out to me, I'll definitely make a follow-up and let you guys know if he's actually going to get locked up or get in any form of trouble. But if I don't hear anything, this is probably going to be the absolute last time that I ever talk about Thraxx. Fuck you, dude. You're an absolute weirdo. You're like a 30-year-old man who has absolutely no control over his emotions, and even if you are mentally ill or on drugs, it doesn't give you an excuse to do something like this. I mean, it's pretty crazy that you're actually giving Zilla Kami a run for his money for who's the shittier person, but honestly, at this point, I'm not even surprised. City Morgue is 2 for 3 for shitty people. And with that said, well, I guess that's it. I don't really know how to end this one off. It's just very depressing, and hopefully the victim is able to get away from him. Hopefully he ends up getting in trouble for what he did, and if you're going to try to justify Thraxx in any way, you're also a weirdo. So yeah, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.